Today is Friday, June 11th. Welcome to this edition of Nevada County Now. Today's episode, we're talking new district attorney, LGBTQ Month, smart trucks, and more. Hello and welcome to Nevada County Now. I'm your host, Cole Pettit. At this week's Board of Supervisors meeting, the board selected a new district attorney to replace outgoing DA Cliff Newell. There were 3 candidates for the position: Colusa County District Attorney Matthew Beauchamp, Nevada County Assistant District Attorney Chris Walsh, and former Nevada County Deputy District Attorney and current El Dorado County Deputy District Attorney Jesse Wilson. Let's take a quick look at those proceedings.
My name is Jesse Wilson, and I'm a Deputy District Attorney in El Dorado County, and I've been one there for the last 2.5 years. Over the course of that 2.5 years, I've been a member of the Special Victims Unit. I've handled multiple felony jury trials. I've obtained convictions against some of the community's most dangerous predators. I've coordinated and created agendas for the SVU meetings. I've been part of the origination and the success of the Child Advocacy Center in El Dorado County, a center that focuses and implements a collaborative as well as multi-agency approach at the beginning of investigations to provide victims with services, their families with services. I've been part of outreach programs to teach the youth of El Dorado County about the criminal justice system, about the importance of making important, good life choices. But my career as a prosecutor began here in Nevada County. Undergrad at UC Davis, law school at McGeorge, and in 2010, I began to intern here at the DA's office in Nevada County. And I was exposed to what it meant to be a prosecutor. And it didn't take long thereafter for me to realize that that's where my passion lied. That's what I wanted to pursue as a career. And I was with the Nevada County DA's office for more than 8 years after that. As it relates to my time here in Nevada County, I built relationships with fellow attorneys, fellow prosecutors, relationships with law enforcement, the defense bar, the bench, advocates, victims' families. And any success I've had, whether it be in El Dorado County or here in Nevada County, is only accomplished as the result of hard work and the collaboration between myself and those people that I built those relationships with. Nevada County DA's office needs change. And it needs the type of change that's going to position the office as a leader in the community.
As the Assistant District Attorney here in Nevada County, I have been the top trial lawyer for the past 4 years. If I'm appointed to the role of District Attorney, I will continue to be the top trial lawyer for this county. If I'm appointed to this role, I will remain engaged in the active day-to-day operations of the office and help build stability, which will make this office stronger.
About what I do. I agree that you have to be passionate about being a prosecutor or you're in the wrong trade. And so by leading by example, they'll see that not only do I manage, but I also walk the walk.
Supervisor Hall, District 1, has voted for Jesse Wilson. Supervisor Schofield has voted for Jesse Wilson. Supervisor Miller has voted for Matthew Beauchamp. Supervisor Hook has voted for Matthew Beauchamp. Supervisor Bullock has voted for Jesse Wilson.
Mr. Wilson, you are going to be appointed as the interim district attorney. Gentlemen, thank you for the process. Thank you for your interest and your candidacies. And Mr. Wilson, congratulations.
Jesse Wilson is slated to take the position July 11th. Also in local government this week, the Nevada City Council voted unanimously to make June LGBTQ Month in Nevada City. Let's take a look and see what the council had to say.
This is exciting. Consideration of a proclamation declaring June LGBTQ Month.
Yeah, I am really thrilled to be reading this proclamation. If I might just add a tiny bit of history at the beginning of it, I just want to remind folks that the first Pride was a riot. It was 1969 in Greenwich Village, New York, at the Stonewall Inn, which was a bar for LGBTQ folks. And generally what would happen was when the police officers were coming and doing their rounds, they would switch their same-sex partners to opposite-sex partners and pretend like they were a straight bar. And they were just sick of it one night. They were sick of it. And so they fought the police, and there were cocktails, the Molotov cocktails thrown, and it was a big riot that lasted for several days. And in the morning they marched. And so every year, we march in pride of who we are and how far we've come to be who we are. And we also march for the people who are not yet at a place who can be comfortable or be out with who they are. So just that tiny piece of history as I read this resolution. City of Nevada City proclamation proclaiming June 2021 as LGBTQ plus Pride Month. Whereas the City Council of Nevada City recognizes and proclaims the month of June 2021 as Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, and Queer Pride Month. And whereas the Council honors the history of the LGBTQ plus liberation movement and supports the rights of all citizens to experience equality and freedom from discrimination.
Councilmember Peterson.
Absolutely, yes.
Councilmember Fernandez.
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Strasser.
Yes.
Mayor Manette.
With absolute joy, yes. It passes 5-0. Thank you very much.
In addition to the vote on LGBTQ plus month, the Nevada City Council engaged in a lengthy discussion on whether to keep Commercial Street closed and mold other potential changes to outdoor dining and mask mandates.
I do think we need to keep it, we need to work with Commercial Street. The green barriers need to be worked with. We need to look at seating. But really what I think I want to advocate for more than anything is an ad hoc committee of our council. And we can do this, I believe, and Ryan will straighten me out or not, but I believe the mayor can appoint an ad hoc committee of 2, no more than 2, in order to engage our merchants, our restaurants, and to work and get down into those details, because it's enormous. Each of these businesses has unique needs. So there's a lot of work to be done here, but I really would like to advocate for continuing that work, because we can, right now, what we're looking at can get us through the summer, but there's so many more conversations to be had about that. And it is so nuanced when I listen to, about the Diana, about the difference between, acoustic music and electric music. I mean, I live next to the park. I hear electronic music every day, but there's rules. So I live with those. So these are things that can be worked out that we've never taken on. So I think it's going to take a very intense focus. So I really do advocate for that ad hoc committee to engage the merchants, the folks on Commercial Street, but everybody else, and begin to take this up in a way. We need to get this right. Brian, I know you're doing a lot of good work out there, but I think we need to work with our merchants on communicating the status of that project as it goes forward, so that they know on a week-to-week basis what to expect. We need to work on that. We need to work on communicating our policies, but we also need to primarily listen to those needs. So I want to advocate for that committee, Mayor, and I want to be on it. But what you do with it's up to you. So I'm going to leave it at that. There's a really important body of work to be done here, and we would really be missing out if we did not take up this opportunity.
I agree. I think we have a lot of opportunity with the ad hoc committee to really look at next steps.
Okay. Dwayne?
Agree. That was a great suggestion by Gary. I fully support that.
Great. I agree also.
Okay. So consensus then, Commercial Street closed through September 6th, and the ad hoc committee will look at options as we approach that.
I think that this is one of the things that we're going to see that's going to be that's going to stay around after COVID is that desire to continue outdoor dining. It's just, it's just so civilized.
You know what, people are, but also, people who were thinking they didn't really want that now are coming back. I had so many people who were like, oh no, don't close Commercial Street, are going, I've changed my mind. I want to be part of a community. So, we need to listen to what's going on right now.
And then the last thing is, given that the city's ordinances regarding masks indicate that we will comply with CDC mask guidelines, and those guidelines are easing, that we remove the mask mandate signs that are currently around town and reuse those sign structures for drought messaging.
It's fine.
Just to do that.
Yep.
We've seen an increase of 34 COVID-19 cases since last week, bringing our total to 4,871 confirmed cases. 138 cases are currently active with 5 hospitalizations, and the death toll remains at 75. According to the state's data, our adjusted case rate increased slightly this week to 4.8, and our test positivity remained at 2.4%. We remain in the orange tier, that is until Tuesday the 15th, when the tier system goes away entirely. For more on the current COVID situation, a vaccine update, and additional news from the county, let's turn it over to Taylor Wolfe, Public Information Officer for the County of Nevada.
Happy Friday, and thanks for having me on again, Cole. For today's COVID update, we continue to see lower case rates that meet the criteria for the orange tier before the tier system goes away altogether on Tuesday. Our public health officials agree that this makes for a much more comfortable transition as our economy reopens and businesses make the move towards more normal operations next week. With new guidance from Cal OSHA, however, we will continue to see employees in businesses continue to wear masks as members of the public who are fully vaccinated can take off their masks in most settings. Nevada County currently has a 43% vaccination rate for our population, according to the CDC. This is a 2% increase from past weeks when we were at 41%. We continue to encourage people to get vaccinated as data is showing that some of the new variants are more transmissible. Although our Sierra College Grass Valley Clinic has closed down, our Whispering Pines Clinic in Grass Valley has all 3 vaccines available. Walk-ins are welcome, and we have expanded Saturday hours that are available through June. Our REACH team is also doing in-home vaccinations that are requested through myturn.ca.gov if someone is not able to make a vaccine appointment. As a reminder for our local businesses, applications for the 5th round of business grants from the Nevada County Relief Fund are available at nevcorelief.org through July 25th. These grants range anywhere from $1,250 to $5,000 depending on the business size, and businesses who have not yet received previous funding from the Relief Fund will be prioritized, although all are welcome to apply. Moving on to fire news. This week, our Office of Emergency Services partnered with local public safety agencies to conduct a tabletop exercise if a fire were headed towards Lake Wildwood in Pin Valley and evacuations were ordered. During this test, we did send out a test code red emergency alert to over 5,000 registered Lake Wildwood residents, covering 7 different evacuation zones in Zone Haven. As a reminder, Zone Haven is our new zone-based evacuation system that will help streamline our code red emergency alerts. During this test in Lake Wildwood, 27% of those that are registered answered their code red emergency alert call live. But of course, this does not include people who receive texts or emails with the code red emergency alert as well. If you are not already, please do register for Code Red Emergency Alerts at readynevadacounty.org/code red, and make sure you know your evacuation zone by visiting community.zonehaven.com and enter your address into the search bar. We also have our final green waste event happening in Grass Valley through Monday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. at 12625 Brunswick Road in Grass Valley. Drop off your residential green waste, including tree and plant trimmings, weeds, leaves, and branches that are less than 6 inches in diameter. During our first Grass Valley Green Waste event, we saw around 1,238 vehicles and 2,331 loads of green waste. Last but not least, our Nevada County Library is kicking off their summer learning program with an event this Wednesday at the Eric Rood Center from 4 to 6 p.m. with a family-oriented adventure bag full of grab-and-go activities, live music, and fire equipment for adults and children to explore. They are also continuing their summer meals program this year and expanding it to new locations, including Truckee, Nevada City, Penn Valley, in addition to the Grass Valley location we've had since 2018. Kids can pick up free lunches and learning program activities at the different dates and locations throughout the summer. That's it for my Nevada County update today. Thanks again, Cole, for having me on to share what's going on at Nevada County.
Thanks, Taylor. And for a little bit more COVID news, let's hear from public health officials from this week's Media Q&A, where they discussed the new state mask guidance, as well as their preparations for potential future COVID outbreaks.
My understanding, and I don't know if you're hearing anything different, is that it essentially will mirror the CDC guidance, which is what they had publicly messaged. So basically, vaccinated people can be unmasked most places, and unvaccinated people need to continue to mask in most places. And then I think it has some additional provisions in terms of, or just some clarity in terms of verification and letting sort of businesses know that, hey, you have several options. You can ask people to self-attest that they're vaccinated and not wear a face covering. You can actually check their card, or you can just on your initiative say everybody still needs to wear a mask in my business. So I'm glad that they're putting that clarity in there.
Yeah, the only thing that is somewhat new in this guidance is that fully vaccinated people still need to wear masks on public transportation. That's a new addition, at least for me.
And a few other settings. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. The other thing that they say is that no person can be prevented from wearing a mask as a condition of participation in an activity or entry into a business. So if you want to wear a mask, you can't be prevented from doing so. And I think that's going to be important because some of us have trouble with transitions and might feel more comfortable wearing a mask for a while. And I think that should be okay if that's what they choose to do.
In a previous session, Claudia had asked the question about, so we stay at this 50% point of vaccines or so. What does it look like in the fall or winter? And generally the answer has been not great. So I'm wondering then, is public health at this point already making plans or taking any steps to address that or mitigate that problem? Obviously, besides encouraging people to continue to get vaccinated, and hopefully we don't have to deal with that. But is there any other stuff going on or any planning for that potential outcome?
Yes, we've had a turnover in staff that does the case investigation and the contact tracing. And we are onboarding new staff and training them in case we have to start doing that in large numbers again. Because that is for unvaccinated people who get sick, isolation and quarantine continues to be the way to prevent the spread of the disease. Our contact investigation team is going to be joining. Right now, they've been using CalReady, which is the application that's used by the California Department of Public Health to document communicable diseases that are reportable. And they're now being trained in CalConnect, which is a COVID-specific program that will be easier for them to work with. So we are preparing for the fall. We're hoping we won't have to put those plans in effect, but we're absolutely not stopping what we've been doing until we're sure that the fall isn't going to cause a rise in these cases.
One of the factors that the state messaged in terms of the June 15th reopening was having infrastructure in place to deal with these sorts of things. And there is funding in place that has allowed us to expand our contact tracing and investigation team. So having that, having those resources continuing as we go forward is really important. But hopefully, the level of surge we might see in the winter, even if we stay in like a 65% range or whatever it is that we're able to achieve by then, hopefully it won't be as intense. But really, the top focus should be getting that percentage as high as we can before those winter months.
Absolutely. And the good news is that if we don't have a surge of COVID, and I hope we don't, we will have trained people in case investigations and in contact tracing for other diseases, because although COVID has been kind of the single thing we've been talking about for the past year, it's not the only disease that we deal with in public health. So having trained staff will help our infrastructure for other diseases. And maybe at some point we'll start talking about other issues in public health that are important, like chronic disease and getting people not to smoke and suicide prevention and all the other things that have been put on hold for this past year, but really need to be addressed.
As we've discussed before, there are changes coming for how waste, particularly organic waste, will be managed. To start preparing for these changes, plus increased demand, Waste Management has begun the rollout of what they're calling smart trucks. Shavati Karki Pearl, Public Sector Manager for Waste Management, joins us today to tell us more about these smart trucks.
Just to give a little background, as you know, California leads the country in many environmental initiatives, and all the way from the state and legislation. Very often they come up with legislation that is sometimes ahead of the times, and then the jurisdictions and the people have to, find means to catch up with it. But it's all for a good cause. It's for making our environment a better place and, California a better place to live in. So in preparation for a new legislation coming up, which is SB 1383 in 2022, and also mitigating the effects of increase in trash, during COVID times. Everybody knows about that. There's been a lot of spillovers. There's been, a lot of contamination. The recycling market is tight. So we've launched a program which is called, we call it the Smart Truck Program. Our trucks have been outfitted with new technology and videos and cameras, which allows us to audit the trash. And the purpose is to avoid overspill from containers, as well as provide ongoing education to our customers about recycling correctly, so that we may divert more and more items away from the landfill and put them to good use in the commodities market. So Smart Truck Program has our trucks outfitted with video cameras, which basically deploy, and this is right now only in unincorporated Nevada County. And the cameras deploy as soon as the arm is engaged, the arm that goes down to lift up the can. And it videotapes from many different angles, the trash being picked up, the trash bin loaded onto the top, which is called the hopper, and onto the holding area where you can actually see the trash before then the trap opens up and it slides down. In March, we sent out a lot of letters and postcards and information to our customers, letting them know the program was starting and what it means, and what you should and shouldn't put in your recycle bin and your organics bin. In April, we launched the overage program, where we if you have overfilled trash more than, a few inches high, we let people know. They get a notice, and it lets people know that, hey, your cart was overfilled. And we send a few different notices before there is actually a fine for the same. And again, this is in hopes of creating better customer best practices and habits. Yeah, I just want to add that I know for the people who do get impacted, it's frustrating, but please understand there are people who are very, very diligent and do a really good job recycling. And when somebody's can gets a lot of contamination, depending on the type of contamination, it could ruin the whole load and prevent the whole load, a whole truckload from going away from the landfill and into the landfill. So there are consequences that are huge in terms of what we're trying to do. And then some materials just shouldn't be in there because, it's a fire hazard. Little batteries can create a spark when they're pushed in and light up the whole truck on fire. You know how it is with fire season, or if you put flammable like oil rags in there, it could light up the whole. So there's danger to equipment and employees as well. It's not arbitrary.
Gotcha. All right. Well, perfect. Thank you for taking the time to talk with us today, Shavati.
Thanks for having me, Cole. Have a great day.
Thanks, Shavati. June is National Candy Month, so to celebrate, we sent our intern Tall to spread some joy in the community by handing out some candy. We'll leave you this evening with some clips from this endeavor. Also, I'd like to add that this is Tall's last week with us here as an intern, and we appreciate all the work and effort he's put into helping us with this show. Remember, stay safe, take care of each other. We'll see you next week.
I'm all about candy. Oh my gosh, Snickers. I love Snickers. There you go.
He's giving me candy. Okay. Okay, candy day. Okay. Candy day. Okay. Come on.
Yes. Hope you don't mind.
Oh, I don't mind.
Okay.
You got my consent.
Yes.
And I got a piece of good candy. Oh, it's also a Snicker.